Today's episode of the Inside EVs podcast is brought to you by E-Range EV Tyre. E-Range EV tyres are specifically engineered for electric vehicles. Using an advanced manufacturing process called liquid phase mixing, E-Range EV's EcoPoint 3 technology creates a tyre with lower rolling resistance and longer range, while offering low levels of wear and high grip. All this while staying affordable. Go to erangetires.com. That's E-R-A-N-G-E tires.com to find your EV's next set of tyres.
Hello, and welcome to the Inside EVs podcast for June the 16th, 2023. This is episode number 167. Thanks for joining us. On today's show, we'll be talking about Toyota's new EV plans, the Chevy Bolt EV's possible Ultium future, and CharIN offers support for Tesla's North American charging standard, and of course, much, much more. I'm Dominic Ioni, Inside EV's editor and forum moderator. Joining us today is the avant-garde, Mr. Tom Logney, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. We also have the maverick, Mr. Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, which is available on all the best podcast platforms. And of course, Kyle Connor joins us, or he will join us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Autospec Studios, where he produces high voltage videos for a number of YouTube channels. So welcome, everybody. So I believe Kyle's on the road. He's, I believe he's towing something back home. So hopefully he's going to join us at his next charging stop, which shouldn't take too long. If you know anything about EVs and charging, or pulling a trailer, we can really cut your range down. So driving with a big trailer with something on top of it, especially, means shorter distances between charge stops. Anyway, but he'll join us pretty soon. So let's talk about what's been going on this week with you, Tom. So let's start with, I believe you took delivery of a new car this week, and you filmed it. You stopped at the place near your place, I guess, called Columbia Inn, where they have pizza, beer, and free EV charging. And you had the little car in the background, little humble brag going on. Just didn't mention the car, I don't think. Just like, Here I am in front of my shiny brand new car.
The funny thing is with YouTube now, you've got to make YouTube shorts. Yeah, YouTube will punish your channel if you don't. So whenever I have an opportunity to do a quick 30-second, 45-second quick short, I make one. And I had just taken delivery of the Bolt EV. There it is. That's sitting in my driveway. And I went out to dinner with my wife to this place that has this really good thin crust pizza. And they have a Tesla destination charger there. So I was like, I'm going to plug in. I'm going to give this place a little promotion here. They offer free EV charging. And so I, plugged in, used my adapter, plugged into the Tesla destination charger, got some pizza, had a couple of beers, came out. It was at like 92%, charge. So, it's a few electrons, was pretty good. But yeah, that's what that video was about. But the big story is I got my Bolt EV finally, and I want to thank you for it because I really wasn't even thinking about getting a Bolt EV. But when your Bolt saga went on and on and on, and we were searching prices and talking about the rebates and everything, I'm like thinking like this is a really good deal. It's not that I didn't know that, but you forget it, and. When we started looking for you, and I was looking at the dealerships up here, seeing if I could find you one, which they were really, not available. I doing the math, and I'm like, this is like, it's like a free car. Like, how can I not buy one? So I ordered the Bolt 1LT. The only option I got was the driver confidence package, $495. That's for like the rear cross traffic alert, lane change alert, and it's a safety package, so $495. So all in, I was at $27,990. That's with destination. $4,000 cash on the hood, New Jersey rebate, which the funds ran out again this year. So you can't get it right now. You got to wait till they refund it, but I got it, and then $7,500 federal tax credit. Guys, I'm all in on a new car for $16,490. Now, New Jersey also has no sales tax. So that's it. Yes, it was a couple $100 for registration. I forget exactly what that was, but all in for under $17,000 on a brand new car.
Wow.
I totally, I know you were going back and forth between Bolt, used Model 3. I think I got the better of the deal here, Dom.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
I hate to rub it in, but
if I lived in New Jersey, I would be driving that car. I think.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I love the Model 3. I've owned two of them, but I'm driving this around and I'm like, wow, 17 grand all in with factory warranties and all that. It's like it's unbeatable. And I do hope, and I know it's one of the stories we have later on today. I hope that GM figures out a way to continue selling these because it's an affordable EV that people need affordable electric vehicles. I mean, I know the Equinox is going to start at 30, but that's too much for a lot of people. This puts people in EVs. Even without the New Jersey tax credit, it's still a $20,000 vehicle. So it's like that's what we need. I see Carlos asked me which dealership, Tom. It was McGuire Chevrolet in Newton, Carlo. And they're not charging anything on top. A lot of the dealers here in New Jersey, because they know what a great deal it is, was marking them up $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. They were completely putting the state rebate in their pocket, basically. But Newton was like, no, come on up, MSRP. We'll sell these all day long if you want to order them from us. So, got my Bolt. I'm happy as heck with it.
Right on. So Kyle joins us, but he doesn't have enough signal for video, but he can do audio. So we don't get to look at Kyle's beautiful smiley face right now.
That's probably a good thing. So you're welcome.
But we can hear him. We know he's there. That's awesome.
Well, they know half the audience to this podcast is on, as in the audio, the Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc. So about half the audience just listen to the audio version, which I'm always very conscious of because so many times I say, "Hey, look at this thing," because we show videos on the YouTube and Twitch channels. But I think our audience knows what Kyle looks like by now. So if you're watching on YouTube, then you can just imagine him with his arms in the air doing that thumbnail picture that he always does, which we love. So
we need everyone wear a Kyle mask. So, but what's the name? Someone had a good suggestion up here earlier, Tom. Let me just see if I can pull it up again. Right, here we go. Dom gets commission on that sale, right? Sorry. little self-serving there. Right on. So so you're pretty happy with the
go up to the dealer and see if he'll cut you in on it.
Oh my God.
Well,
there you go.
I'm not getting involved with that.
let me do a Google image search for Kyle Connor to see if we can put an image up on the screen while we're talking. Oh, hey, hang on a minute. There's an altogether more famous Kyle Connor in the world because that's the first image that comes up. I don't know what we're looking at, but
yeah, no, this dude, he pops up in my news feeds all the time.
Right on.
He's apparently a great hockey player.
That's funny.
And
that's funny that Kyle has someone that's a great athlete with his name. I also do. Tom Malogany was a famous hurler in Ireland. And
really?
I think I might have even said this on the podcast. Yeah, if you do the Google search. So the funny thing is, for years, Google had my picture on his Wikipedia page, and he died last year. He's 80 years old, and it had my picture in the news, and it said Tom Malogany dies at 83. And people are like, "What was Tom, like a vampire? How could he be 83 with how he looks?" But I had people sending me screenshots of that, and they're like, "Tom, I hope this really isn't you." But yeah, so that's funny that Kyle has a famous athlete that has the same name as he does. Yeah, from Tipperary, which that's where my family is from. So he probably is somehow related to me back, through cousins or whatever. But yeah, it might even still be on his Wikipedia page, my picture.
Wow.
I sent Google notices and everything. Take this off. That's not me. But I just gave up because Wikipedia and Google just kept using my picture.
Oh my
I was sorry to sidetrack it.
John Check says you better explain with Hurley, and I mean so people what I think John's English is a little bit confused.
Yeah,
what is Hurley exactly?
Hurling.
Hurling.
Yeah.
Hurling is a
I know
sport.
hockey.
Yeah.
It's like it's an Irish hockey, isn't it? So
Oh, I don't
Kind
know.
of like it's some.
Like
I don't
field
know.
hockey?
I think it's more
Yeah.
like lacrosse, isn't it? Like
okay,
kind of
okay.
hurling.
Okay.
But
we
yeah,
don't-
does hurling mean the same thing in the US as it does over here?
hurling is what you do when you drink too much.
Yeah, okay. So I was going to say, I just googled Tom Malogny hurling. I'm like, what am I going to get pictures from student days or something?
Which could be.
Yeah, there were no cell phones back then. Thank God. We don't have to live with that. My generation. There's no evidence of the crazy shit I did.
Brilliant. I love it.
So how are you liking your Bolt EV anyway? Like driving wise, what are your impressions?
It's
of
front
it?
wheel drive, which
Right.
isn't the best driving experience, but I'm not taking this thing out to go nuts with it. It's a great little car. I will say Meredith isn't in love with it. The funny thing is, she was expecting BMW i3 experience, little compact electric car, right? And
premium electric car,
so rear wheel drive. The i3 has a great driving experience. I mean, Kyle loves the i3, and he wouldn't love a car that doesn't have a great driving experience. So the first time she drives it, she comes back, and I'm like, "So what do you think?" She's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Well, what do you mean, yeah?" She's like, I thought it was going to be like the i3. It's not like the i3. So I was like, oh, okay. It's a $17,000 car. The i3 costs $57,000.
Right,
So you got to expect better materials, a premium driving experience. But what she didn't like, I think what she was more talking about was like the i3 seats were very high. You had super outward vision all the way around you. And you it's a little different with the Bolt EV. It's
more traditional.
It's an economy car, yeah, and it doesn't have that real great tossable feel that the i3 did. The i3 just felt like you could just dart through traffic and park it in one movement. And it's not a knock against the Bolt. I'm complimenting the i3. BMW did a great job on the drivability of the i3, but the Bolt is, look, for what I got it for, it's great. She's going to take it when she needs to drive into the city. We can't really take the pickup trucks. Nobody wants to accept them in their parking garages. And this is just a great little runaround car for us. And I'm super happy with it.
Well, maybe we should talk about the Bolt coming back real quick then. It's in our list of stories that we need to talk about today anyway. So, Or
do we want to jump to Kyle? Because how long is he going to be with us? Is he just going to be with us at the charging stop or?
No, I'm staying for the whole thing. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good. So, So, in an interview with Kai Risdal, that's on the marketplace, which I hear on NPR, but it's public radio. I forget what the exact NPR. I mean, marketplace is not NPR. It's something else. American Public Radio, I believe. Anyway, she was on there with Kai Risdal, who's awesome, and she mentioned that prior to driving her Cadillac Lyric, she recently took possession of. I'm sorry. I wrote this down from my notes that I took in on the forum, but I have a little post on the forum about this. But anyway, so she has a Cadillac Lyric, but she was driving a Bolt for quite a while, a Bolt EUV for like 6 months or so. And so she was talking about that car on Marketplace with Kai. And she mentioned that she was talking about leveraging the names of different GM vehicles over time. And, people know what an Equinox is, and I think basically the tone of the show, they're asking about the Bolt is an affordable car, so when are you going to make more affordable? You're canceling this one affordable car that you have, so what's up with that? Excuse me. So she was talking about the value of some of the names and stuff, and then she kind of mentioned that the Bolt itself now has some amount of loyalty and equity, brand equity. So she said she couldn't discuss. She couldn't say any more because she can't discuss future vehicle programs, right? So it was like a big, and it was just the way she said it. It seemed like a very nudge, nudge, wink, wink kind of clue. And she went on to say that the Bolt is a very important car in the company's portfolio, which I think it is, and they can save. I think they said they save like 40% in battery costs, with the new Ultium system over what they would have, over the Bolt battery system. So that's going to be huge and help keeping that cost down in the future for the Bolt, I think. But also, it's just having it being a smaller car. It's just cheaper to produce fewer materials. But yeah, I really like to see them get below 25,000. Actually, would be nice. But I'm thinking it's only going to be, I don't know. In my mind, I'm thinking 2025 at the very earliest, because there's a whole program cycle. Maybe that's already in the works. Maybe the next Bolt is already designed. I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I would think that we would know about it by now if it was coming before 2025, because they've kind of laid out their blueprint, for the next couple of years. So, and I don't know if they have the bandwidth to make enough Ultium battery systems for, we've got the Hummer, which is low volume. Silverado is going to be very high volume. Equinox is going to be high volume. Blazer is going to be high volume. I don't know if they have enough bandwidth on the Ultium to just, start pumping out 10,000 second generation Bolts a month, or whatever, however many they'd sell a lot of them if they could bring it in at the same price. Look at it now. They can't make these fast enough.
No,
at the price that they're at now. I ordered mine the first week in February, and I just got it now. And there's a 4-month wait on these, and that's people are even paying over MSRP and waiting 4 months. So, nice if people want affordable under $30,000 EVs, and they're just not around. And that's why we're excited about the Volvo EX30, even though it's more than 30,000. It's relatively affordable considering it's a premium vehicle, but we still need non-premium vehicles like this. It's a supercar. I'm super happy that I got one, and we need more of these. We need Ford to come out with one. We need all the companies to have a $30,000 run around car.
Right. What are your thoughts on the future Ultium Bolt, Kyle?
Well, I think they need to make their ones that they've talked about first. Let's see Equinox come. Let's see Blazer come. Let's see Silverado come. I'm supposed to drive Silverado this week. We'll see how that goes.
Right. So, I knew that was coming up. I was looking for clues about that. That's exciting.
I don't know anything about it yet. They haven't sent any info. Got to research it. Yeah, not sure.
I think we're driving the work version though. The fleet
the work
version,
truck, but that's the one I care about.
Yeah.
So base truck, looking forward to that, because they're launching work truck first and then going for the consumer ones later.
Cool.
Ultimately, who wouldn't want another cheap electric car? We and by another I mean the only. There's just nothing out there that's that inexpensive, and even EX30, while it's an amazing price for a great car, that's still too much money. Right. So we need cheaper electric cars, and the thing is, electric cars are expensive to make, so there's not much incentive to really do it, especially as all the expensive ones are getting bought up.
Right. Yeah, and then with the prices too. So the Bolt now is what, 26.5 or a bit more than that or something. But you start adding a couple packages on, and you're up over $30,000, like without even breathing hard. So it would be really nice if you could get like a decently contented car for $25,000. I think would be great.
Well, Dom, you can with the tax credit.
Yeah, with the tax. Yeah, if you make enough to, but people who can only afford this amount of car probably only can get like $1,000 of the tax credit anyway. It's a limiting factor.
Depends on how much you make.
That's when you go used. You just get a used something.
That's right. That would be that would be the smart financial move, I think. Really, that's the move that I didn't quite make, because if you get that $25,000 or below, you get that $4,000 rebate. But I'm not sure that's a tax credit as well. But I'm not sure if it's a refundable tax credit. Anyone know off the top of their head? But I think the regular one's going to be a refundable tax credit in the future.
Yes, it will be in the future.
Yes. I'll hope next year. Is it next year? We'll look it up and talk about it.
Nathan says it becomes a rebate from the 1st of Jan. So if he knows,
okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. 1/1/24.
Talking about used cars, I'm just curious. Let's say I decided, which I have no intention of. I have something I'm going to be using with this, but the Bolt gets discontinued the end of this year. What do you think what do you think I could sell my Bolt for next year? Let's say I wanted to sell it this time next year when you can't go buy a new one.
Probably more than what you paid for it.
5,000 miles, kept really well. You probably sell for 23,000, 24,000 at that point, right? I don't have intend to, but
Yeah, under
you know, I
20, under 25. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal actually. And you would make more money. You would make,
that's why I said it's like I have to buy it, because I have things I can do with it. I have relatives that might need a car, and but like even if all that panned out, and I don't need to give it to anybody or loan it to anybody, I could sell it, and there's no way you could lose money on it.
Right. Kuchel says used bolts are 15K-ish now, 15,000 around, but that seems like kind of low to me. But I haven't looked actually in the last month or so. But
that's a 5-year-old one though.
Right. So but they were really holding their value for a while up into this year, because I was kind of looking at those as well, but they just didn't seem like it wasn't a great deal at the time.
I think once you can't buy them anymore, and there are no EVs in that price point, you might start seeing the used price creep up on them.
And also,
there's no other options.
I'm so curious about the floor of what an electric vehicle, the floor price, I mean, of what an electric vehicle will be, because it's not like a combustion car that will just get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to the point of we'll scrap it and put it in a big crusher, or we'll pick the bones of it for the recycled bits. Because you think, like, behind me is my 10 kilowatt hour home storage. I've got a solar edge battery to store from the solar panels, and that was £8,000 for 10 kilowatt hours. Now, home batteries are still, that is with everything included, but that is still, home batteries are still very, very expensive. And yes, you could build your own one out of bits from AliExpress or whatever, go down the scrapyard and get some old Leaf batteries. But if you want a turnkey solution, a nice little cloud interface and stuff, that's what you're paying. But there is still an inherent value where the batteries inside an EV might not be good enough to power the car. And we see in some case with the old Leafs as well, people are struggling a little bit. But more than happy. I don't know what the peak I can pull is 3.68, because that's my kit and that's my inverter. So that's the peak I can pull anyway from the battery. Actually, no, because I've oversized it, so it can pull 5. But still, like 5 kilowatts from a 10-year-old car battery is still nothing compared to what it was built for as being a traction battery. So there's still a floor price for used electric vehicles, and well, we don't know what that is because we haven't got there yet. But it won't be. Even in 10 years' time, it won't be like small cars that people learn to drive in, their first car that we have at the minute, combustion cars. It can't be. They can't ever get down to $2,000-$3,000. I don't think anyway.
That's interesting. I mean, we have used bolts or Leafs here that are quite older ones from like 2012 or 2013, 14. I'm not sure what the floor is. I mean, Kyle bought the cheapest one in the country like a month ago.
Was it 4 or 5 grand?
It was $3,700.
Yeah, okay, so 37. Maybe that's the floor. Maybe you found the floor.
No, I don't know. I just got this Coda for $1.
Right, that's a good point. That's the
floor.
That's the floor.
That's the floor.
we can't go any lower. We can't go any lower than that car. And what's the size of the battery in that? So if we stripped out the LFP battery from a Coda, how big's the battery in that?
I think it's 33 or 34 kilowatt hours.
Oh, is that big? Oh,
I'll give you $2 for the battery.
Yeah, well, and the battery's fine. I mean, it hasn't been used. It's been perfect. So
it's an LFP pack, right?
It's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
So, yeah,
and what's crazy about that is because the 12 volt died, and therefore there was no draw on the traction battery. It just sat. It just sat for years. I find that unbelievable.
10 years and it still had 30% state of charge. I mean, I don't know what it was parked with, but it may have been parked with 35%. Like, I have no idea.
Right.
But that's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Colton's detail it.
This is going to be good. Oh, yeah.
Well, he won't touch the interior. He's too prissy for the interior.
Really?
Yeah. So I got to have someone do the interior. He'll do the exterior, though.
Why? It's too dirty for him? He doesn't want to.
Like, you bring a brand new, Lamborghini Huracan to his shop. He's like, oh, the paint's ruined. This thing's nasty, because he's just like so perfectionist. And so, the Coda's overload for him.
Okay. I think before we move on, from you, Tom, I wanted to also share that you may have a new car coming at some point in the future. And let's see if I pulled it up properly. I can't tell if I pulled it up properly.
Yeah, you did.
I give you permission to post a private message between us.
Was it a
You're
secret?
in big trouble, Tom. Tom's in big trouble.
I didn't know it was a secret.
No, it's not a secret. It's
I
not a secret.
obfuscated your order number.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a whole number after that.
Well, what I did, I posted that to our message board, and I said, "Somebody stop me."
Right.
Because it seems like every time we go drive a car, I think Kyle reserved one also. Every time we go drive a car, I'm like, I want one of these. So at some point, I have to stop.
See, I think Meredith would like this over the Bolt.
Yeah.
You could replace your Bolt with this.
Yeah.
Right?
No doubt about
definitely.
That's the move, as Kyle would say.
This might replace the Bolt and the R1S.
Ooh. Hey, Kyle, did you order one too?
Yeah, but it's not going to be for me. I just figured I would know someone who would want one. So I just ordered one.
And that's what's happened in the past with vehicles that you haven't done that to, because then 2 years later you go, damn, why didn't I just put $100 down on something? So because it's not like you've just gone out and spent 60 grand at a dealership and you bought one home, because the lead time on these things, it is at least, 18 months away, isn't it? It's not going to be a year.
It's more than
next
a year.
summer.
And what's so funny is as soon as I put the reservation in, and I was like, number one, because I knew Volvo was going to open up the reservations at the launch, and they said that in their press. They told me when I was able to have the car, so I was like, oh, I want to have one of the first ones. And so I put the reservation in. And then I have had 6 emails and like 10 phone calls from the Volvo dealer saying, "Oh, you're interested in the EX30? Can we get you in to look at these?" And I'm like, you what? No, I don't want any of those.
Right. I mean, none of
I will
those
say
are-
my dealer that I reserved it with hasn't reached out to me, hasn't said anything, hasn't said, hey, we're looking forward to work with you, or do you want to buy one of these? It's been radio silence. So I'm like, did they get the notice that I reserved it? Like, I was expecting the reaction that Kyle got, because you always get that. I mean, when I reserved my Bolt, I immediately started getting flooded with emails from the dealership on,
Of course, yeah.
all kind of stuff.
Oh my God. I still get emails from Bolt dealers or Chevy dealers.
That's why I just have a burner email account that,
right.
I never even
unsubscribe
check.
them, or like all these unsubscribed things, and it doesn't seem to really, it's not super effective sometimes. But anyway, so you also wrote up a story this week, Tom, about CharIN remaining committed to improving the CCS charging experience, and I think you put up a whole video from the testing festival, that they held recently that you and Kyle attended, that you told us about.
We talked about that a lot last week, but
Right.
I had shot some video while I was there, and I actually interviewed 4 different people that were there, actually 5. Michael Keller, who's a board member of CharIN, Sam Kelleher, who's an engineer at ABB, Carlos Cortez, who's the CTO and co-founder of BTC Power, Jeremy Whaling from EVgo, and Cliff Feitzig from InCharge Energy. I basically said, hey guys, why do we, I asked each person, why are we doing this? Why do we need this? Why is this so hard? And I just wanted to hear what each person, how each person responded to that. And, I wanted to point out that we're still going to need interoperability testing moving forward. This is going to be a constant requirement, whether we adopt NACS completely, whether CCS goes away, we're still going to be installing a lot of CCS charging equipment. The whole, NEVI funding is based on CCS. So that stuff's going to come whether car makers use it or not. So we might be using adapters. They're not going to, how slow government works. They're not going to change NEVI funding, I don't believe, at least to include NACS charging equipment. So
you don't think so?
I don't know. How slow it is.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It can't be.
How long it takes government to do anything. And if we get in there and try to start messing with it, then, the lobbyists will rip the whole thing apart, and sooner or later there won't be any funding at all. I think now that it's been approved and done, I think the people that were in support of it don't want to touch it, because once you open up a can of worms, all of a sudden this gets pulled out, this gets pulled out. There's, Congress has a different lean now, and, and it becomes a mess. So I don't know. I don't think, I think this is going to be required for a long time moving forward. I think NACS will be included in it. They'll be testing, doing interoperability with both connectors for a while. It's not just going to go away tomorrow. I think we all wish it would, but CCS isn't going away.
So they So they had an initial reaction sort of letter last week that we talked about last week, but this Monday they also posted a new thing expressing support for the standardization of the Tesla, North American charging standard, the Tesla plug and socket, I guess. And I guess the big thing is that CharIN said it will work to convene an open task force to align requirements to submit NACs to the standardization process, which, it's a lot of words to say they're going to, they're in the game still. They want to they're on board with NACs now. It looks like they've got over the initial denial part. But looking at your thumbnail on your video here, I'm reminded that they also have the megawatt charging thing, which is also a whole another kettle of fish. Because I think Tesla also has one of these too, right?
Well, we're under the impression that Tesla's going to use the same megawatt charging connector.
Well, that's a relief.
That's what the guy that you see in the background there, Michael Kelleher from CharIN, told me. That, yes, Tesla came out with its own connector early on, but I think it was basically because they needed something immediately to do testing with, because the MCS that everybody agreed on wasn't available yet, and Tesla was part of the process of defining and engineering this connector. So I believe that that connector you see in my hand is what's going to be used for everybody.
Right. So there is a role for CharIN, going on in the future for some time. Then not only with trying to maybe make the Tesla standard or NACs like officially standardized, but also with the interoperability of the megawatt charging system.
Yeah.
But to be honest, that's sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Don.
Oh well, the thing is, CharIN will only be relevant in the North American charging standard conversation if everyone joins and says they're relevant. If Tesla says, "Hey, no, we're doing our own thing. You guys have fun messing with our connector," well, then there's nothing CharIN can do. The rest of the industry can go one way and adopt that and change the standard and make it that way. But Tesla still has not joined the CharIN group for NACS. Now, this all happened really quickly, almost overnight. So as soon as Tesla announces their support, then it will work. If Tesla never announces their support, then it won't work. GM, for example, hasn't committed to this yet. And the big question is CharIN going to be the one to standardize NACS, or is another organization going to do it? I mean, CharIN has a lot of experience doing this stuff, and we like the people there and we're friends with them, but also they're slow and they have meetings to have meetings just to have a meeting because it's a very German filled organization. And so, it's like, is that the right way? Ultimately, like Brandon Flash commented here, it's like CharIN is in assuming Tesla will be open to changes, which he doubts. I sort of doubt as well.
Right.
This could be the holdup. I'm all like, it's needed, and I just put up a video about this too. It's needed that Tesla, that this connector goes to an open standard, that someone outside of Tesla manages it for everyone to switch. Mercedes won't switch, BMW won't switch, Volkswagen won't switch if Tesla holds the entire thing in their hands. But also Tesla might be stubborn here. We don't know. They could be the ones to hold up the transition if they don't want to go for a full, independent standardization process.
Very interesting.
So I called a friend this week. I spoke to someone high up at Stellantis and said, "So are you guys going to be next?" And he laughed and said, "Obviously I can't talk about that." But I said, "So what do you think then?" And he said, "Firstly, brilliant on Tesla's part, and he works for Stellantis, but he's driven multiple Teslas for many years, and so he's intimately acquainted with Teslas." He said, "Firstly, brilliant move by them. Great revenue driver, great for consumers as well. As a Tesla driver himself." He's like, "This is great because you just plug it in and it works." But yeah, he also, when I said, "But don't Tesla do what Tesla want to do?" Like Elon Musk, I don't know, is he the richest person in the world or number two? I think it flip-flops to me. He doesn't tend to ask permission. No, okay, yeah. He does get upset because when they had that Biden meeting with all of the car makers and he wasn't invited, he did get his knickers in a twist. And yeah, I guess if he had been invited, he might not have even accepted. So aren't billionaires funny people sometimes? However, back to my point, they have very thin skins, but the Tesla and Elon Musk will do what Tesla want to do. And my friend laughed and said, "Well, yeah, that's also true." because, you know, he works for Stellantis at the minute, but he's in a previous life, I kind of been adjacent to Tesla. And he said, like, yeah, that's, you know, what they do is brilliant, but they will also do what they do. And that was, I want to pick his brains on, you know, are they just becoming subservient to a standard where somebody in 5 years' time will say, NACS is now going to do this? And he said, no, absolutely not. They, from his perspective, retain control. I asked him what he thought the challenge was. And he said, look, not to, I'm paraphrasing, he didn't use that word, but belittle the work of hardware engineers and the hardware that goes into these things. A connector is a connector as well. Like connectors and cables and things like that, that's not the difficult bit. He said, if you want to make it really, really good, everyone's got to get the software sorted, and that means towing the line with Tesla and their software, which is arguably also the best. So he was, it's great to speak to someone from a competitor who also, you know, who don't sell cars. Obviously, Stellantis don't have a big presence in North America. So I wouldn't think that they're going to be jumping on NACS. I mean, they might do, but in the next 5 minutes. But yeah, his take was very, very smart move by Tesla and smart move by Ford and GM as well.
Right. Well, on the software side, like Carol was mentioning last week, I believe the handshake with Tesla's at the Supercharger is like 6 seconds compared to like 20 to 30 seconds for, you know, just like to initiate the charge at the very beginning of the session for like and that's a huge, you know, advantage. Or what's that, Tom?
Well, I was going to say the Tesla Supercharger handshake will increase roughly to that 20-second or 30-second time with other vehicles, because when Teslas communicate, they're not using the CCS language to dumb it down. When you're going to plug in a NACS car, they are going to speak CCS. They will go through a certificate exchange process, which extends the time. And perhaps there's ways for them to speed it up, but maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds could be the theoretical fastest that this could be done.
Okay.
So yeah, Tesla's handshake is just because they're charging their own cars in their own ecosystem with their own hardware and their own software.
So they don't do certificates at all with them.
Right, that's correct. No certificate exchange with Teslas at the moment. Basically, the cars tell the superchargers, hey, yes, I can supercharge. And then the cars handle all the billing on their side.
Right on. Hey,
Christian Richard has a good comment there. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care if it takes 20 or 25 seconds. Of course, 6 seconds better, but as long as I know it works, as long as I know I can just plug it in and walk away, I don't care if it's 20 seconds or 25 seconds. It really, to me, that's like, you know, it doesn't matter at all as long as I know it worked. What stinks about it is because we know that there's high failure rates. I plug in and I'm staring at it, waiting for it to, you know, say charging. So that's the hang up to me. But if I knew, if everything just worked like the Teslas work, I'm plugging in and walking away. Who cares if it takes an extra 15 or 20 seconds? That's not going to prolong your charging stop at all. I mean, to me, that doesn't really matter as long as it works.
That's a good point, because how many times have you had that little nervous when you've plugged in and you just get that little, is it going to work? And now you mention that, that's not an acceptable feeling to have for anyone to plug. How many Tesla owners that if you're a Tesla driver, you know this already. You know, you reverse in, you plug in and you walk away. You don't even think twice, will it start charging? Like you're walking away before the lights come on because you know it's just going to work. And yet for the rest of us, you're staring at that screen, hearing clunk. Zzz, there's the fan. Zzz, clunk again. Like, oh, that's a contactor, and like you end up listening to all these sounds, thinking, okay, that means it's working. And then half a minute later, so I know what you mean, Tom. The time doesn't matter, but also, like it's But no, you're right. Actually, the most important thing is it just works. Who cares as long as it just works?
I mean, if it was 3 minutes to initiate,
maybe.
But if we're talking 6 seconds to 26 seconds, really? Like that 20 seconds matters, like, you know, but it just you have to have confidence that you can just plug in and walk away. And all my supercharging with Tesla, only 2 times did it not work when I plugged in and I had to move the car over to another supercharger, and then it worked. And then oddly enough, another car pulled into the station that I was trying to use, plugged in, and it worked. So I'm like, you know, why didn't it work on my car? But, you know, I didn't try to figure that out. But in any event, to me, the key is the confidence that it works when you plug in. And if we get CCS or whatever to the point, even NACS that's charging CCS equipped cars with an adapter or whatever, if that comes down to a 25-second, but we know it's going to work, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, other people might have different opinions.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, you had a whole video. CCS is dead this week. You filmed in front of your Rivian. It's all accessorized nicely now. A little humble brag going on, I think. Was there any other points in that video that you wanted to bring up here before we move on?
Nope, everything is in that video. That makes sense. And then I also followed that up with a tour of this show that we were at, where I added some more of the technical thought process about switching to NACS and what automakers would have to do, and that there's really no UL cables out there. Also, the fact that so many Tesla fans think that just putting a Tesla cable on a CCS charger will fix anything. If anything, it's not going to change anything at all. What it is going to do is open up free market competition, where if I'm having an issue at EA or at EVgo or at ChargePoint or wherever, I can now say, you know what, screw this, I'm going to Tesla, which I can't do now. And it would have been so helpful on this road trip I've been on in my Rivian this week, towing about 3,000 miles with it. And I'm on my last charging stop now. And, to me, the connector's nicer, the connector's better, it has higher current limitations. Like, I'm all about the connector. That's not why I'm excited. I'm excited about this because it allows other cars to use the Supercharger, and for us to finally consolidate to one plug, rip everything out, go NACS, issue adapters for the old legacy cars, which there's very few of on the road today when we start thinking about the future of cars in 10 or 15 years from now.
Right.
And, adapters aren't the safest thing. So that's why, the quicker we can switch, the better it'll be for everyone. That's my impression. And so, talking with a lot of automakers and a lot of charging companies, no one's really given me a good reason not to switch. And so, I'm we're all in, they're all in, everyone wants to do it. There's a few little, automakers are a little bit concerned about the cost of, engineering a different plug type. There's a little bit different switch gear in the car because you have to run AC and DC on the same lines. But other than that, the communication is going to be very similar. And the prospect of allowing their customers to have a much more premium charging experience is very, very enticing. Now, the big question is, version 3 superchargers are currently capped at about 500 volts. That's the big topic. That's why I think Lucid hasn't switched. That's why probably Rivian hasn't switched, because MaxPack might be high voltage. I think once Tesla announces their plans, obviously version 4 supercharging will be 1,000 volt capable, but I think there could be a very easy way for them to reconfigure version 3. And I'll probably do a podcast on this soon coming up. To actually support 1,000 volt, basically a cable and handle swap and reconfiguring on the actual charging units themselves should be a very simple process. They can send a tech out for. They can be reconfigured to support up to 1,000 volts. And I think once Tesla announces that, then it's much more enticing for the Koreans to switch. It's much more enticing for really everyone to switch, because that's the way future electric cars are going. And, Tesla has their own incentive to do it too, because they claim Cybertruck will be high voltage as well.
Yeah.
And they can save a lot of cost in the vehicles by not putting a huge onboard booster in there, rather than just reconfigure it. And as Brandon comments, version 3 already does 880 to 1,000 volts when they do cabinet sharing across their DC bus. So they already do support high voltage when they share cabinet to cabinet. It would just be a slight configuration change when they actually go to dispense the energy into the car.
Right. But that sharing that's not really something that people can take advantage of right now, though, right?
It happens every day. What do you
like if you plug in an 800 volt car and it's going to charge at 350 kilowatts? If it's like if you plug
the sharing capability is so that each Tesla version 3 supercharging cabinet is only about 360 kilowatts. And what they can do is have 575 kilowatts worth of input power from 1 or 2 or 3 other chargers on that same installation. So they can shift the power on a site level distribution standpoint. And that's the magic of supercharging, which is I can count very few times, maybe on one hand, where I've been at even a very busy site and haven't been able to get the full 250 kilowatts. And the reason that is because Tesla cars don't hold full power for a very long period of time. And
Right.
so they're able to maximize their grid connection this way. And it's really genius.
That's cool. I didn't realize that was all going on in the background with the V3 superchargers. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I believe we have some podcasts on it. If not, we'll definitely make some. But it's pretty cool. They their O is pretty much operating in some sort of distributed power sharing standpoint. They have a DC microgrid basically that runs around the whole site.
Cool. So this video you took at EVS, was it 36? Yes, EVS 36. That's the electric vehicle symposium that happens about 36 times in the past. It's been going on for a lot of years. So you have a full hour and a quarter video of you showing us around. I think we're looking at some of that footage now. Overall, what was your sense of this event?
Yeah, great event. Fairly small, actually. Thought it would be bigger. Sacramento's a weird city to host it in, so I thought that was probably not the right place. This should have been a New York or LA or type situation. Sacramento's just hard and annoying to get to. So I think that's maybe why the attendance wasn't so huge. They claimed they were sold out, but it wasn't very busy in my eyes. There was a lot more room for people. So. Yeah, great event. A lot of charging was the main topic, really the only topic, if I'm honest. And
Right.
The conversations of switching to the Tesla connector was the conversation.
Everywhere.
And talking to cable manufacturers, connector manufacturers, charge point operators, charging hardware manufacturers, all about NACS. And so you can see the video and see what's going on with the whole thing here. But yeah, I mean, it was a good show. And yeah, I mean, we spent a day and a half there, and that was great. And that's probably all we needed to spend. But it was great to see everything on display and make an awesome video.
So you also had a video of a technical tour of Tritium's EV charging product offerings. So I guess you shot that at the same event?
Yep, that was shot there as well. And that was
Okay.
just because we sort of missed them in the main video, also on purpose, because they have this really cool DC microgrid situation, a little bit similar to Tesla superchargers. And so we wanted to do a deep dive video on that. So that's really for the super nerds.
Right.
That video is up there now.
Distributed DC FC power is how your title starts with this. So like you're saying before with the Tesla backend, there's a shifting of load going on between the different chargers at an installation.
Yep. So they have a park option. It's called the PKM. And they also have an all-in-one option where there's no power sharing. And we go through the pros and cons of both. And yeah, I think the nerds will find it interesting. It's obviously a very, very deep in the weeds video, but
Right.
That's the stuff I enjoy the most. So we had a great time for this one.
Yeah, Tritium is awesome because it's the genesis story is like it's just a small company working on this like inverter, and next thing you know, it's a huge DC fast charger producer. So you mentioned before you're towing your car, and I talked about that a little bit at the beginning, and I mentioned that towing sometimes electric vehicle can cut down your range a little bit. So tell us, you're towing, I guess, your Coda, CODA, your brand new low mile 10-year-old Coda. So and it's on a 2-axle trailer.
Yep, that's correct. And you can pull up my Twitter and you'll see the photos if you have time or can. And we took it out to the salt flats, and yeah, just ultimately I towed the Leaf out to LA, and then drove up to the San Francisco area, San Jose area, picked up the Coda, and now we're bringing it back. And it's been one heck of a slow trip, I'll tell you that much. Definitely, we have a lot more stuff in the truck on the way back because we picked up a bunch of wheels and tires, and we put the racks on it. So the efficiency is significantly decreased. We're also gaining elevation back to Colorado than when we were going down to sea level.
Oh,
and, overall, the return trip feels like it's taking forever. And it really is. It's towing with an EV. It's early days. This is not the best use case for it. We all knew that. It's possible. We're making a video to show it's possible. But next time I got to tow long distance, I'm taking a diesel and we're going, fast. So this is taking a 1.5 day trip and turning it into a 3-day trip. It's pretty crazy.
Sorry, my
So Kyle, Brandon said the CHAdeMO booth was comical. Did you stop over there? Could you talk a little bit about what are they saying at this point? Why were they even there?
Yeah, well, there was so CHAdeMO brought like all of a whole consortium, if you will, of companies that are supporting CHAdeMO, and they were right up front and center. They had the biggest booth at the whole show, which was really, I thought, comical. And yeah, I mean, I spoke to a few people over there. Some of them were just convinced that CHAdeMO is the future and more installations are going in, and, you know, CCS is dead. Yes, but we're not switching to NACS. We're switching to CHAdeMO. I'm like, I want whatever you're smoking, because that's awesome. And it was really, really fun to talk to those. But then some of them were like, yeah, I mean, we're here to represent just the Japanese, you know, community, if you will. And so some were very realistic about it. Others were just like, obviously had never left the basement of their house, and
we're making a comeback.
Right, that CHAdeMO is just like dead. And they were also doing some CHAdeMO stuff, so we got to see that connector, if I'm saying it correctly, and that was pretty neat. And they have adapters to go from CHAdeMO to CHAdeMO, so that was cool. And yeah, they had good coffee, so that's the rumor.
Kyle, do we know? I know China is going to go to the CHAdeMO, but is Japan? I thought Japan was just sticking with CHAdeMO. Do you know anything about that?
No clue, to be honest, what's going on. There's a lot of conversations around it. There's a lot of conversations about China, maybe even just sticking with GBT as well. And, you know, not switching. So I think they're going through a little bit of connector wars, just like we are over here. Japan seems very, very set in the CHAdeMO ways. And, you know, they also shipped over, which I thought was really interesting because it's expensive to ship a vehicle to the US. They shipped over a right-hand drive JDM, or Japanese spec, Hyundai Ioniq 5 with a CHAdeMO port. And next to the CHAdeMO port, of course, it has J1772 because CHAdeMO doesn't support AC. And from what our viewers were telling us is that it can only charge at 62.5 kilowatt peak. So I guess, you know, CHAdeMO can support 100 kilowatts, but I'm not sure why the Ioniq 5 cannot. Anyway, it was cool to see a right-hand drive version, and the charge port was filled up, and that was pretty cool.
Interesting. Did it fit both of the inlets and that same like charging flap of the Ioniq 5, or did they have to change something?
No, they fit perfectly in there. You could tell, like, obviously they designed the flap to fit, you know, the worst case scenario, and that was it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I remember when I first saw it saying, like, why is this flap so big? Well, that's why.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, so Kyle, you mentioned China and the China standard. I understand you maybe have talked to some Nio people this week.
Oh, didn't just talk. I went to the Nio offices in the US. They invited me over because we were in the area. So they shot us a message, said, hey, come on over. And we're planning this China trip to go drive a bunch of their stuff and everyone else's. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the CHAdeMO and J1772 connector in the Ioniq 5. So that was really funny. But yeah, I went over and I rode in a Nio ET5, which is their new sort of Model 3 competitor situation. They have a whole bunch of Nios in San Jose, one of everything. They have EC6, ES6, ES8, ET7, ET5, and yeah, really was awesome. And you know, a lot of the development and engineering for Nio was done in the US. So actually, their driver assistance system was engineered here. Their Nomi system was engineered here.
Oh,
and
my favorite part.
Yeah, yeah. See, Alyssa hates Nomi. I thought it was great, but you know, it's, if anything, I would probably not choose that to be in my car because it's a little bit creepy. It just watches you all the time.
Right.
And but anyway, I mean, I think the cars feel great. The ET5 was awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed the ET7 when I drove it in Norway. And we did battery swap with it and everything. And the ET5 is a little bit sportier. It's really freaking quick. That thing boogies. And, you know, just overall feels like a very nice car. It's like a nicer interior than a Model 3, I thought. Overall, seemed great.
And it looks good. We've got up on the screen. Marty's got up on the screen here. It looks like the flush door handles. It's got the LiDAR on top. Did you use the LiDAR or the ADAS system?
No, you know what's weird is that even though the ADAS system was engineered and calibrated here, because they're Euro spec cars that were brought here, apparently they don't work here. So
Okay.
I don't know. They offered I could drive it and spend some time. I really was only there for about 45 minutes. We were in a super rush.
Right.
And so we just kind of swung by, said hi to the guys that we've been chatting with to put together the China trip. We were just driving by their offices, and they're like, "Oh, well, I had to drop my truck off at a charger, at a DC fast charger, and they picked us up in the ET5 to take us on a tour of their offices." And I had been there 3.5 years ago to Nio San Jose office, and yeah, it's only expanded since then. I mean, they are doing some cool stuff. I'm not sure what position they're in financially because I don't invest in them. My dad was trying to tell me yesterday what's going on with Nio stocks, but I didn't really fully understand.
Right.
Something's going on with them. Like lowering prices and some other stuff on the cars.
That's
But
true.
the
China,
car,
yeah.
the car itself, I thought was a really would be a great Model 3 competitor. I mean, I don't know all the specs on it, how it would charge. Typically, they don't charge that great, but they do support battery swap, which we don't have in our market. And apparently in China, they're only DC charging now. They don't support AC charging is what they were telling me. I don't know how true that is, but that's just what I've heard.
Huh. I guess it's got a 4-second 0 to 60, 482 horsepower in the ET5.
Yeah, I mean, the thing felt strong with it. We did a couple launches in it, and I was like, whoa, it gets up and goes.
Nice. So any hints about when Nio might come to the US?
Yeah, I mean, that is the topic. Their intention is to come to the US. I asked them many times, like, what's going on here? And yeah, they're still just working on the path. I mean, there's a lot to do for them to launch cars here, but definitely doesn't seem like 2024. Seems likely 2025, but they wouldn't give any hard dates or anything like that, of course.
Right. And you think they wouldn't build a factory here?
I don't know. Didn't get into the specifics really.
Okay. Because if they were, I mean, now is the time to build your factories because they're being subsidized somewhat, I believe, right?
Yep, I'm sure. I think they'll probably always be subsidized for factories, though.
Well, I mean, maybe I'm just thinking of the battery, the gigafactory, the battery gigafactories. I think there's a lot of support for production, battery production. It sort of goes away over time. So, like now is the time to build your battery factories, and we're seeing like a lot of that this week. We've saw there was a couple different announcements. GM announced it has a site now for its plant with its battery factory with not LG, the other company that they're going with. There's not coming to mind right off the top of my head, but it's like a 30 gigawatt hour factory. And so not quite as big as the other Ultium factories it has.
Sure. Yeah. But overall, my experience with Nio was great. Right. This is the wagon version that they just launched. That's sick.
Wants it so much. Yes. No, you can keep your SUVs. I want this.
But you can get that, can't you, in the UK?
This? No,
not yet.
No, not yet. But
okay.
I absolutely want it.
Can you get any Nio in the UK?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think it's going to be long.
Right, because they're already in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this year was, or maybe last year was Germany, and then expanding. Then maybe UK is late this year or next year. But yeah, we are definitely on their roadmap. Right-hand drive is a bit of a fly in the ointment, but otherwise, yeah. Look at this. This is brilliant. Love all of. We're watching some video right now of
that is a stunning car in a stunning color.
Estate version. Oh man, that is practical and looks great. If that had come out of Porsche's design house, you wouldn't be overly surprised. It looks good. Oh man, so bring it here now. I really want this.
Right on.
Oh, I love cars like this. So good.
And what's cool is the driving position's pretty neat because everything's really, the dash is quite low. So it gives you this Model 3 like driving experience. So you can see over the hood and right down to what's in front of the car. And I thought it, they ripped it around some corners for us as well. I didn't drive it again, but it felt good. And it's not on air suspension. It's not like the ET7 or anything like that, but just cool. And they were like, so if, basically, they just have cars in San Jose. Just if you're by the offices, just go drive by. They park them outside, and
Okay.
it's pretty cool. You can check them out.
So Kyle, did they offer you to drive it on roads? Because the last I talked to them, they weren't certified to drive on roads. You had to drive like on their parking area or whatever, but they were going to let you drive it out on public roads.
That was my impression. They didn't seem to give me any restrictions. We took it out on roads with them. I was just like, if I'm going to drive it for the first time, I got to film the whole thing.
Yeah,
Because when I put a video, I drive it for the first time. It's really my first time I'm driving it.
Right.
So I was like, you guys drive. I'll drive it in China in a couple weeks and, do that whole thing.
Okay. You're going to China in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, still putting the final touches on the trip and keeping a close eye on the situation over there. But yes, that is the plan.
Okay, sweet. Right. So we won't see a video about this Nio then on your channel coming up then.
No, we did not shoot any content. Just a couple Twitter posts, hung out with the guys, nerded out about technical stuff with some of their US engineers, and just sort of a great introductory, nice to meet you type thing. And, can't wait till we can start doing some testing on these when they launch in the US.
Cool. Martin's still showing us ET5 wagon.
Really
We should just keep that up for the rest of the
I
podcast.
really want
Right?
one.
It's pretty nice.
Really want one. That
But
just looks so good.
What? Yeah. Well, you don't want the. By the time that comes here, though, you should be able to get like a new Toyota with the bipolar LFP battery. No.
I'm not sure Toyota would sell me a vehicle at this stage.
So I guess let's jump into that news right now, I guess. So Toyota recently held a technical briefing session. They called it a Toyota technical workshop under the theme, "Let's change the future of cars." Mostly it was about batteries, but other technologies like the CharIN OS operating system. They talked about hydrogen fuel systems, of course, electric cars with manual transmissions. I don't know. And manufacturing. So they want to, this was the interesting part actually, the manufacturing, because they want to adopt the modular system that Tesla is moving to, with car chassis coming together in like 3 pieces using large castings. So Toyota even adopts the language of Tesla, calling them giga castings, which I thought was amusing. This is a picture. If you're looking at on YouTube, we were just showing a picture of the CHR concept, which I don't think is going to be fully electric. I'm not sure why everyone uses photo on their stories for that, but it's not an EV. Yeah, but moving on. Right, so they call them giga castings, and they believe they can have vehicle development costs and factory investments by going to this method, which is really interesting. So that's like, Toyota is known for its manufacturing system. Everyone basically copied what they do. They have a whole, the Toyota manufacturing system. I don't know, maybe Kyle, what's the real name for that?
Sorry, I was totally distracted because our car just randomly stopped charging, and I'm not really sure why. So we're just figuring that out.
You're in the Rivian, right?
Yeah, in the Rivian, and for some reason it seems like this charge point unit doesn't want to had to stop at 90%. We actually need a 100% charge to make it home. And I was like, well, perfect. We'll do the podcast as we do a full charge.
Are you in Denver?
We're in Georgetown, so yeah, just outside of Denver, and for some reason it stopped at 90%, then it stopped again at 91. So we're thinking maybe it has a cap where the DC chargers won't charge above 90, but I'm not familiar with that feature here. So maybe it's just a bug.
Well, that's kind of interesting because, that's not too far from me. How many miles can you get on the Rivian pulling that thing?
125 to 130 seems to really be pushing it.
Ooh.
So that's stretching it. So
right.
We could probably just drive slower and make it home now, but we're sitting here doing the podcast, may as well have it topping up.
That's right. So getting back to Toyota, so they say they are determined to become a world leader in battery EV energy consumption. That's a translation from the Japanese. I'm not exactly sure. I believe they want to say they want to be a world leader in EV batteries, and I believe they want to do a lot of the production of that themselves. So they're talking about having various battery options in the future, and the next big one for them, 2026, they want to start producing these LFP batteries, but not just any. They're called bipolar LFP, and they say they can reduce the cost over their batteries like today in the BZ4X by about 40% and offer like up to 620 miles of range. like 1,000-kilometer battery, basically, which is a lot. So bipolar LFP is not something that we've talked about here. I had to do a little research myself, and basically what it does, it only has one anode, and it stacks all the cells up within a module, so the current is flowing through all. It seems like, and maybe I have this wrong, but I think I got it. The current flows through all the different cells in the module in one direction to discharge, and then it flows all the way through all the cells, rather than having each individual cells going from anode to cathode back and forth. Basically, it does away with all of that, so they can have a smaller battery, which is important with the LFP because it's not quite as energy dense as with the lithium batteries we use now. So that's going to be a lower cost battery option, I'm sure, as well. And so the other one, of course, is solid state batteries that they're pretty excited about, and that they say is coming in 2028. It's always so. Toyota, Martin's got his head down laughing. So Toyota's been messing around with solid state batteries for a little while now. I believe I saw them showing off a scooter in 2014. It might have been 2012. I think it was 2014, and they were saying they will have solid state batteries by 2020. And so they've missed that goal because, obviously it's not an easy nut to crack, because there's some Chinese companies that I believe that are claiming they have solid state now, but we've never seen anything in a consumer vehicle here yet. So, right. I don't know. Tom, you have some thoughts I think you want to share.
Well, you're right. It was originally 2020, then it was 2022. Now it's 2028. So, it was funny as you were introducing this story, you kept saying, and Toyota's talking about this, and Toyota's talking about that, and Toyota, that's all they do,
Talking.
And I love this bipolar that they're introducing, because that is the perfect term for Toyota. Self-charging hybrids, EVs are our future. EVs don't work. Hybrids are better for the environment. There's a less smaller carbon footprint. What else? Beyond zero. What the hell does that mean? Beyond zero? Does that mean as the cars are driving, they actually suck carbon out of the air? They're like better than zero emission, So I don't know. Listen, you guys, we've all talked about Toyota a lot here, and I've been a Toyota customer for years. It's hard for me to take them serious. I had always thought that, they're slow walking electrification because they're selling their hybrids and they make a lot of money. They make the best hybrids. So why not? It's a good business decision to just keep making what you're best at and push like this competing technology to the side. But I always said, but when they make that first EV, it's going to be a damn good one, because Toyota knows how to make cars. They know battery tech. They have more battery experience than even Tesla. Toyota's put batteries in EVs, for how long now? So they're going to nail it. And then the BZ4X gets announced. I'm like, this is going to be this is probably going to be a killer vehicle. This was early on before we knew what it was going to be like and everything. And it's going to be like a RAV4, which is kind of the package that a lot of people like, maybe a little bit smaller than a RAV4. This thing's going to kill it. It's going to charge great. It's going to have long range. It's going to have all the great little EV bits. And it's like, womp, 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 like this is what we get. So, I don't know. I hope they come around, but all we get right now is talk. And, eventually they're going to make EVs, and I still believe they're going to make good EVs because they know how to build great cars. Toyota, they have manufacturing down pat, and they know batteries. But from what we've seen so far, it's, they are only interested in making better hybrids, and they can talk as much smack as they want about EVs, and we're transitioning into 2028 and 2025, 2030 and all this stuff. But until it comes here, I'm going to, still be doubting Thomas, I guess.
Doubting Thomas, literally. Yeah. So looking at the presentation, like looking over it, it's a bunch of presentations by a few different guys in their, Toyota Kaisha uniforms. And looking at the presentation slides and everything, it doesn't seem like super advanced. It's not like it wasn't. And like listening to the guys talk about the different things of making their presentations, it's not like wasn't really confidence inducing to me. And maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know, but. And it's all in the future too. And I like the idea of the LFP, lower cost LFP, and maybe, better volumetric density and stuff like that. But yeah, show us the money basically, right?
Everybody's working on future battery tech, Dom.
Right.
But other companies don't need to necessarily show it because they're selling EVs now, and they don't want people to wait and say, oh, wait, no, I want that battery, so I'm not going to buy the EV that they're selling today because they're coming out with something better in a year or two. Toyota's got nothing. So they have to show us like, oh, look at this shiny thing that we're going to have there in 3 or 4 years. So don't buy these other EVs that are available today. They stink. Wait for Toyota. A couple of years, we've got all this. We've got bipolar. We've got, solid state. We've got all this great stuff coming. What's in the market now is garbage. No one would want these EVs. We're going to make EVs when people want them, down the road. That's what I get out of this, at least. That's, and it's been the same old for a while with them.
Martin, do I dare ask you?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because if you look around the world, China is moving so quickly. I mean, Norway, although it's not a law from what I understand in Norway, any of our Norwegian viewers, please correct me, as in passed by your parliament or whatever to ban petrol from 2025 in 2 years' time. It's something like a hard aspiration written in heavy pencil, I think. So, but Norway's 2025. We're going to be 2030. The EU has capitulated a little bit. It'll be 2035. There'll be some faffing around with synthetic fuels and e-fuels and things like that, and it's just gonna rumble on and take up far too much of all our time to talk about these things like synthetic fuels, e-fuels, hydrogen, Toyotas, bipolar nonsense. And it is a sideshow, really. The future of personal mobility is in battery electric transport, and that might have been a debate maybe 5 or 8 years ago, with plenty of knowledgeable people arguing their case. It's not even a debate anymore. And so China has proven that. EU, UK, the US hasn't gone as far as banning. And by the way, the EU hasn't banned petrol and diesel. You can still buy a petrol and diesel car from 2035 if it's zero emissions. So if they can work out a way of making them zero emissions, and that's where they're starting to get a lot of the lobbying around e-fuels and synthetic fuels is starting to kick in now, because so many people, so many massive invested corporations have so much stake in this that they want to try and fudge something through. But that's unfortunately going to take up time. If we could all just agree that the future, which it is in battery electric vehicles, we'll all get there much quicker,
right?
And leave a planet behind that hopefully has got a chance of being half decent for the next few generations. And the interesting thing about Toyota is that because they haven't got anything to sell at the moment, and all they've got to do is talk about what's coming, is they're trying to say, well, we can't make a great EV at the moment because we need this technology that's coming in 2028, and yet there are so many great EVs on the market. So Toyota are implicitly admitting we don't know what we're doing, which is difficult, firstly for Japanese culture, also for a company like Toyota that reimagined automobile manufacturing, that was the envy of the world.
Right.
And so often we've seen in technology companies fail because they're wedded to the past. And I think Toyota are now in a real danger of falling into that trap. For years I've said, well, they're too big to fail. They've got too many smart, brilliant people working at Toyota. They'll be fine. When they make an EV, they'll be fine. But I think now that we're here once again this week, hey, wait till 2028. We've got good stuff coming down the line. They are in a real danger of completely missing the EV boat and just being increasingly sort of just at risk of being a a bit part player in this. Now, I don't care if Toyota survives and thrives or goes bust. I mean, my feelings on how they've tried to diminish EVs over the last 5 years, but they're now, I think, at a stage of, if they're saying, oh, we can't make a good one till 2028, that's a real problem, because there are amazing EVs on the market today. Have been for years. Like, what do you mean, Toyota, you can't make a good EV? Everyone else can. So why aren't you any good at this? And actually, what all the car makers realized all these years ago was, oh, cripes, we've got to go back to the mine. We thought we could go to the marketplace and buy batteries. And then they all realized, oh, no, we've actually got to get really good at supply chains and go all the way back to mining. And that's what all the big car companies have been doing over the last few years. They don't talk about it very often, but all the ones that have got a decent EV pipeline, Tesla were first to do it, and the rest are at various stages of that. And that's what Toyota should be talking about, which is like, right, we've got all of these mineral supply contracts. We're going to make these great batteries, and batteries will get better over the years, rather than, oh, we can't make a good EV until 2028. Kind of sucks to be Toyota right now.
And French, for one sec, Don, French Trip posted a comment. Can we also mention how Honda has basically brought nothing to the EV market? And that's true. But the difference between Honda and Toyota is Honda is just decided to make different types of vehicles and keep their mouth shut on it. Like they're not simultaneously denigrating EVs. Like Toyota has spent, hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing campaigns to say EVs don't work and EVs suck. And Honda hasn't done that. They're just making their own vehicles. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Make what you want. And if that turns out to be a good business plan for you, that's fine. I don't think it is. I think it's going to be a bad decision. Let other people will make EVs, people will buy them. But the difference with Toyota is not only have they not been making them, but they've been spending so much money in marketing, trying to get in people's heads that EVs don't work. They're unsafe. They'll leave you stranded. They had ads of people in dark parking lots at night, standing there like looking scared because they're charging their car in this empty parking lot in the middle of the night. So that's, I think, the thing that really gets under our skin with Toyota was, if they just decided they don't want to make them, it's a bad decision, but that's fine. But they did everything they can to try to tell people that these are not good vehicles. They're unsafe. They're going to leave you stranded. Our hybrids are the way to go. And I think that's what gets under our skin. So that's why we're not really say, blasting Honda or Mazda or Subaru, some of the companies that haven't made EVs. There's a difference. It's Toyota's lobbying.
Right. Poor Mazda.
So on the point of, I've lost the comment now, which is that they're going to join. They're going to join later. So if that was you in the comments that they're going to be sort of join on the. Gary Smith, Toyota is pumping the product lifestyle up for selling EVs until EVs are mainstream. So Gary is right. Yes, absolutely, you were right. Toyota will join the party one day later, whether they'll be as big as they are now, and they are the world's number one by selling combustion products. Mm-hmm. The reason why on an EV podcast we are not more effusive over Toyota is because we do this day in, day out. And Gary, what they are saying doesn't fit with what everyone else is saying, which is EVs are here now. We've got great technology, which will improve. That's fine. We've been doing a lot of work on going back to the mine, on making batteries ourselves, building battery factories. Toyota have done some battery factory announcements recently as well. So Gary, that's why we have this concern around Toyota, and it's all talk. They may well join, but when they join, they will be at such a massive disadvantage to where the EV market is in 5 years' time, because the adoption curve of people buying EVs is going through the roof. Also, think about where we were 5 years ago with electric vehicles, and then where we'll be in 5 years' time. And that's when Toyota are going, oh, but then we'll be ready. So that's yes, you're right, Gary. But all the things that we hear Toyota talking about, the reason why that raises huge alarm bells, and the people that I talk to in the industry as well, they're like just confused about Toyota, is because they're not saying the same things as Ford and GM and all the big German car makers as well. So they're not doing what everybody thinks that they should be doing at this stage, which is the interesting thing.
I mean, who's come up with the most compelling vehicle in the last while? I mean, the Volvo EX30 is Geely is a Chinese company. You know, I think Toyota could get they're really in danger of being left behind by 27, 28. You just in mind share and market. People think electric vehicles, they won't be thinking about Toyota. They'll be thinking about Volvos because in the US that's how we get access to the Geely platforms, the SEA platform. I think the EX30 is on, and
But look at where the Chinese are investing their money in places like Geely is a big investor now in Mercedes, and more recently bought a big chunk of Aston Martin from the Strolls, and so they're investing in what is at the minute combustion world, but we can see where they're going to be in 10 years' time, and that is electric Aston Martins, all electric Mercedes-Benz. But so Toyota have got the money that they could go and make acquisitions if they wanted to, but time won't be on their side forever.
Right. I don't know, Kyle, what do you think? You're awfully quiet over there.
Hard to speculate what the future holds.
We could have all said that and moved on.
That's what would have been great.
Yep, never mind.
All right. Well, let's talk about something else then. Let's talk about VinFast for a moment. So you mentioned this on Twitter, actually, Kyle. So VinFast is going to give its customers cash or vouchers if their EV breaks down. So I don't know, and I believe you thought that was good. I mean, they're recognizing that their customers may have issues. I don't know. Have you heard about any specific issues with from VinFast owners yet?
I mean, aside from all of the issues, but I thought this was particularly funny because my first impression was like, oh, $300 if your car breaks down. If you're going to offer me money, that seems like really pennies for the inconvenience of my car breaking down. Like, do you not value your customer's time? But then I did the calculation, like how many times would it have to break down for us to actually get paid, to make back the initial investment of the car? And it would take over 150 breakdowns, maybe 160, 170 once you factor in tax on the base car. And so I thought this was hilarious. And at the same time, it's very possible VinFast says if you take the money, you can't lemon your car.
Oh,
well, we don't know what the stipulations are. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying maybe there's something there, because it also says eligible customers will be able to take advantage of this program. So it's $100 for each type of issue. And I'm like really good at finding issues in cars. They have
different types.
This could make a great YouTube series. I don't know. I was thinking about it on the drive over. I'm like, man, we should just get one of these things and just bring it in every day.
So
let
each
YouTube
YouTube
take a look at it. You'll get your money back in a day.
That's right. Yeah. Colton finds everything. Yes.
So each YouTube video could make you not only money in the adverts that we watch with them, but also it's $300 a time. That's fantastic. I love that business plan.
Well, it's just like, we would figure out some bug in the software to make the car die and crash and just do that every day.
Man, it's just, but I was looking at this, like the press release, and we have it up on the screen, or at least an excerpt from it. It's like, they're talking about the different kind of issues. So they've categorized the different kind of issues that you can have with your VinFast car. And so there's type 1 issues cause inconveniences that do not impact the use of the vehicle. So eligible customers will receive USD $100 for each type 1 issue they experience. Type 2 issues render a vehicle inoperable. And then type 3 issues require a repair time of more than 3 days. It's just, man, it's just, I think it's really bad messaging.
Do you? So I thought it was I thought my impression was VinFast recognizes they have a major problem in our market, and they're trying something.
Sure.
And it's very creative. What do you think is bad messaging about this?
I mean, just telling people, okay, well, you may have these problems that leave your car inoperable for more than 3 days, and we're going to break it down, and we have this sort of thing in our head how we're going to compensate you for it. But what people want, they just want a car to drive. So if they have problem like this, give them a loaner car, even if it's not a VinFast. Give them a Tesla Model Y or something. Who know? You know, give the
Oh,
people
I'm pretty
something
sure
to drive.
they do. Do they not already? I'm pretty sure they do loaners.
Oh, do they do that? Okay,
I
I
think
don't
this
know.
is
But
in addition to any other type of normal service experience you could
okay,
have.
I don't know. It just seems to draw too much attention to issues where we don't want to hear about problems. We want to hear about solutions. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not sure they have those. So I think, you know, they got to start somewhere. This is the great place to start. I thought, okay, yeah, it's really not going to work, and it's not scalable if they do this,
Right.
based off of how many problems the cars have.
Right.
I just thought it was neat that, like, they're, you know, VinFast recognized, holy crap, we got a big problem here. Let's try and salvage the customer experience, because I'm in the VinFast owners groups. Not that I
Okay.
own a VinFast. It's just really funny to watch them complain about all the negative reviews. And then you get like the realistic owners who like actually drive them, and they're like, yeah, like some things are good, some things are really bad, and sometimes they break. And there's like this huge, I don't know, it's almost more than Tesla cultism in the VinFast groups, where people are, you know, putting their life on the line to protect this brand image. And then you have realistic owners in there who are like, yeah, I bought the car to support them, but like I'm having some problems. And you know, then there's some people who are like, I bought this car and I really hate it. So it's pretty interesting to watch that all unfold. It's this new type of consumer dynamic I've never seen from a car company before. So yeah, I would suggest going in there and playing around and seeing what they think about this stuff.
I need to join some VinFast owners groups. I don't think we don't have any owners on our forum, but I'm not seeing anything real quick in Facebook. But yeah, we have a comment here. My wife's cousin lives in Vietnam, and she claims that only Vin employees drive VinFast cars. I mean, that could be. When I was there, I mean, I did see a number of like combustion VinFast cars on the highways, just, you know, at random. So I think people in Vietnam, you know, do drive them, besides not just VinFast employees, although they do have a lot of employees. So maybe that's just what I was seeing. I don't know. But they do have another model coming out that I don't have it on my list of stories for this week because it's not coming to North America or anywhere outside of Vietnam. And I wasn't really sure too if it was like a small, I don't know if you can find that real quick, Martin. It's like a small little electric vehicle, but I was looking at it and like, it kind of reminded me of something I've seen from China before. So I was like, are they importing cars from China to sell under the VinFast name, or are they actually producing these in Haiphong?
That one?
Yes. The VinFast VF3 Mini EV.
Yeah, it looks very Suzuki Jimny, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it looks great. And their VF2 is even better.
Is there a VF2?
Yeah. Oh, you got to see the VF2.
Oh man,
the VF2 is a marvel of engineering. Not joking. It is one of my all-time favorite cars. And you know, I've already driven it just under a different badge. But you'll see this here. It's a Citroen Ami badged as the VinFast.
Oh, no way! Amazing!
And so if VinFast can bring a VF2 to the US, I will love them forever. I will never say a bad word about them ever again. I just want to buy a Citroen Ami. I'll take the VinFast badges off.
That's amazing. Where are we?
But yes.
Let's have a look. I don't know what website this is. I'll put this up. There you go. It's the VF. It's not in English. It's the VF2. Look, there it is. It's the VF2.
It's incredible.
Wow. Yes, I love it.
And it actually looks better than the Citroen.
It actually does somehow. Why is that?
Got cooler wheels, a great wrap job, like
a
it's
little spoiler.
Really nice.
Yeah. Different color roof. There's another company that also has it's also rebadging this thing, right?
Yes, and I can't remember what it's called.
What is it?
Yeah, good name.
I forget now. Yeah.
Aston Martin. No, that was. Aston Martin did that before with the Scion, with the little tiny electric Scion. You remember that, Kyle?
The IQ.
The IQ, right? But then Aston Martin had its own version of that.
Right, the Signet.
Right, with a C.
Yeah.
Right.
and they offered it in purple. And I saw a purple Signet in Norway on a used car lot, and it was pretty tempting. But I was like, I cannot legally put this in my luggage and bring it back with me.
It would almost fit. But yeah, we're just about out of time. I want to mention. Oh, speaking of weird vehicles, somebody mentioned in the forum today we had a member show up he was having some technical difficulties with their EV, and it's got an AC propulsion drivetrain in it, powertrain in it, and it's a Pirelli's MonoTracer. I don't, and so I texted you about this, Kyle, but I don't know. Have you ever seen one of those? Are you familiar with that?
Yep, I've seen it. I don't know anything really about it, but I have seen them, and they are pretty neat looking, actually. I don't know if we'll be able to pull up a photo, but they got Model X doors going on, if I remember correctly. They go up.
What is it, Dom?
It's a MonoTracer.
Tracer. MonoTracer.
Right.
Haven't heard of
It's
that.
like another one of those weird. I think it leans, and it's got.
Yes. It's an enclosed motorcycle, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew a friend of mine ordered one of those. They were made like in Norway or
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Yeah.
Well, the company is Swiss.
So a friend of mine, and God, I can't remember his name. We haven't talked for ages, but he was in the Mini E group with me at the time. He had a Mini E, and Stefan, he lives in California.
Right.
So he bought one, right, and he imported it. And when it got here in the port, they wouldn't release it, and I don't know if he ever got it, but he paid for it in full. And when it came here in the US, they like confiscated it because it like wasn't legal here or whatever, but he had done the documents through the company to like import it and everything. And this went on for at least 8 months. I remember keeping in touch with him and asking him, did you ever get it? And the last I spoke to him, he never got it. He was like in a crate somewhere in the port in California. But that was like 2010, 2011 or somewhere around there.
I was saying
Stefano Paris, his name is.
Right, but I believe he worked for them. I thought he was like their U.S. sales rep or something.
Maybe
like
he
that.
became that, but when I was talking to him, he was not. He was just Stefano Paris, his name was. Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if he ever got it, but so somebody must have got one. It's in the US, Dom, the person that reached out to you?
No, they're in Switzerland.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
looked at
there it is. Yeah.
New York Times.
Someone in Switzerland had an issue with this thing, and they thought, let's go to the Inside EV's US forum.
Well, they were desperate. I mean,
and that's Brad wrote this. I remember this when Brad wrote this article. Yeah, and you'll see the guy's name should be Stefano Paris in there that in the article that owned it. He was.
Wow.
I haven't talked to him in ages.
Well, it's got the AC propulsion powertrain in there, so it's possible that some Americans will have an idea of how to address the problem they're having. I think it's like trying to get it to recognize the battery system. I'm not sure. It sounds like a pretty deep technical issue, though.
Stefano probably could help the guy. He knew
he
everything about it.
Right. Oh, yeah, it's true. MTE 150. Yeah. I mean, the person where they wrote their first forum post, so I had to approve it. They didn't mention it was MonoTracer. They just had the MTE 150 thing, and I'm like, what is that even? So I had to Google it and look it up, and I added it into his post.
I love how they just
Stefano on Facebook.
They assumed everyone would know what an MTE 150 is.
Yeah, right. I know.
And they're in the US. This makes no sense why they would come to this forum, but I'm glad they did. That's cool.
Me too, because I was like, I had forgotten about this, and I absolutely love this idea. I mean, it's probably a terrible idea, but I just love the idea of.
I was going to review it for Inside EVs if he ever got it on the road, but
oh wow, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
What a cool machine.
Yeah. And
I'm surprised Kyle's not on eBay right now working out how he can buy one.
Oh, I am right now.
Amazing.
Alrighty.
It's got casters on it as well, so you don't fall over.
They go down automatically when you slow up.
Because that's
That's
just, you don't want one of these things to fall over, actually, because then how are you going to get out of it to stand it back up again?
Right, the door won't open. It falls over.
You have to wave at a passerby. Can you let me out, please?
Like a turtle on his back or something. Help!
Yeah, could probably benefit from some like pyro fuses in the doors, like the Mercedes SLS has.
And as you can
Wow.
imagine, it was crazy efficient. It was
Yeah,
like
that was
off
super
the
efficient.
charts efficient.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Think about it. Such a just so streamlined and small footprint, and yeah. I like. So this is similar to what that company Lit Motors was trying to do, and who've resurfaced again, trying to, but with they have a different approach with the whatchamacallit in the bottom to keep it steady. Little spinny thing. What do you call those? Somebody in the comments will tell me.
Like a gyro or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, like a gyroscope that holds it upright. So you have you don't need those little two things to come down like the safety wheels. It just would hold itself upright with using the gyroscope. Right. But yeah, we'll see if that actually happens. But what has happened this week, we should just mention this real quick before we go, is that the first Rimac Navara customer delivery is happening very soon in the US. And if you happen to be in Ohio, let's see, Mate Rimac is going to be there to personally deliver a couple Navaras in a well, he posted this in a couple of weeks, but I believe the Triple F collection is going to be on hand. I'm looking at where exactly the event is. It's in Ohio at some sort of fair, the Ohio State Fairgrounds, right? June 18th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can, if you're in that part of the neck of the woods, you can go see one of the coolest electric vehicles that made, designed and engineered and now delivered to paying customers. Paying customers like a lot of money. $2.5 million.
Wow.
You think? I don't know. We don't know what the price tag is on for the American ones, but it's probably north of that with all the I don't know, whatever options you can get on these. You can make them however you want, I guess. Oh, someone's telling me right. Bud Terrace says, Dom, pronounce it Rimac because it's not Rimac. That's true. In Croatian, it's Rimac.
Well, that's his name, so yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Rimac.
Right, but forever everyone always said Rimac, and he never really, corrected anybody. He let it slide. But I think we're all coming to the realization now it should be said Rimac. There you go. All right.
Hey, what was the brand that you had trouble saying for the longest time, Dominic? Or was it Tom?
Hyundai?
Yeah, Hyundai. That was it.
Think about it too before I said it out loud because I still screw up.
That was like the first 100 shows that we did.
Yes, literally every show.
Hyundai. Because
no. You got it right. Hyundai. Sunday.
Don't start
Sunday,
training yourself back.
Right. Sunday, like Hyundai, like Sunday.
Brilliant.
All right.
But I had a little issue also. So Kyle, you were probably right. I always would say Porsche and not Porsche, and so many people would comment on that. I think I've trained myself to say Porsche now. Yeah. I used to get a lot of,
that one's not as bad because even the guys who work at Porsche say Porsche.
Yeah. Right. So it's not as bad, but you notice we were getting comments when I said it. So I've trained myself to say it properly. So it's Porsche now.
Yeah, if someone can go back through and make a time-lapse video like said, of Dominic pronouncing Hyundai, this would be amazing.
Yeah. That would be a great supercut. We'll use that on our Christmas show.
Welcome to the Inside EVs podcast, and this is what you have to listen to at the beginning of every show.
That'd be amazing.
Let's see how it is.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Right. Many people say Telsa. Okay.
What?
I don't know. Somebody's commenting here. Many people say Telsa, but I've never heard that.
No, they don't.
I hear it with the Z, the Tesla.
Tesla.
Yeah,
right.
Tesla, but not Telsa.
Right.
Yeah. Although I was listening to Elon Musk talking maybe on like a Twitter space, and he was saying Tez.
Yes,
like
they do. Actually, him and Franz and everyone at the company says it.
Tez. Not Tess. Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, it's a small thing, but yeah, that brings us to the end of our show. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them on the Inside EVs forum podcast thread or on our YouTube or Twitch comment sections. If you like the show, please give us a thumbs up if you're watching us on YouTube. Don't forget you can find and follow our panelists on Twitter. Follow Tom Mologny at Tomolog, that's with 2 M's. Martin Lee is at EV News Daily. Kyle Connor is at It's Kyle Connor. And I'm at Dominic on Post.News, Mastodon, and Spotify, or Spoutable. I'm not on Spotify yet. I will be. I need to hit the recording studio,
Absolutely.
and I'll have some songs on Spotify, hopefully before the end of the year. Yeah, click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications, and thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you all again next week. Ciao.